Hello Internet, my name is Lave and I watched Ready Player One, which is based on the book of the same name, which of course I haven't read. I have heard of the director of this film though, this Steven Spielberg. I think this guy's got a career ahead of him. His latest is set in 2045 in an overpopulated but recognisable future, and we follow Wade Watts as he and the rest of the world escape their banal lives by going into the Oasis, a virtual world where you can be anyone and do anything, the inventor of which left 3 clues to an Easter egg. Whoever finds it will inherit his fortunes and control of the virtual world. Speaking of Easter eggs and references, this movie is the granddaddy of them all. In cinema screens across the world, you can literally hear nerds and geeks just going, "Jizz in my pants." There's so many in there. Some of them I got, some of them I didn't. There are some in there which made me remember stuff from my childhood which were long forgotten, like Mad Balls. Do you remember them? They're in this movie. There's even references within references. They're literally bursting out of each other. This film is just riding on this wave of nostalgia, and it is a ton of fun, and Spielberg is clearly having fun as well. Not only is he referencing his own work, but he doesn't forget to overlook his colleagues and peers. One in particular gave me a real kick. It was great. The action set pieces are exhilarating as well. One extended sequence in particular took my breath away. I would highly recommend seeing this in IMAX and in 3D to add to that sense of immersion in their virtual world. But all of that stuff is to be expected, and it does deliver. I had a ton of fun with it. But it's other areas of the film where I felt like it was more of a mixed bag. For example, there's some humour in there, some of which landed, some of which didn't. There was one moment where I thought, oh, come on, Stephen, you're better than that. It felt like it was venturing into Michael Bay territory. There are bits of profanity in there as well. I guess it's been put in to make it more appealing to its target audience, namely teenage boys. I've also seen a couple of other reviews that criticise this film for its lack of development in the real-world sequences. I don't necessarily agree with that. Again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know if it explores it in more detail, but I did feel like the film adequately explained, admittedly in clunky exposition, how this world functions, particularly with its economics. Everyone is obsessed with its digital currency, and because of that they neglect their real world responsibilities. But what I struggled with, and I think the film itself is struggling with too, is the development of its characters. It does skim the surface with its main protagonists. You've got Sheridan as Wade Watts. He comes from a broken home. You've got Olivia Cooke as Samantha. She's trying to stop the corporate bigwig from seizing control, played by Mendelsohn, who's all fine, but I just didn't really latch on to any of them emotionally. You've also got Mark Rylance playing James Halliday, the inventor of this virtual world, which is all amazing. They're all obsessed with him, but I think he's someone who's, if I met in real life, I try and avoid. I get that they're going for that Willy Wonka vibe, but he was a bit too weird for me. But it is too easy to give this film a free pass and forgive it for all of its flaws by just saying, oh well, it's because it's all in a video game, innit? You could say it is part of the narrative. An example of that is that Wade meets his friends online who he's never met in real life. So then when they conveniently pop up in the real world, it is funny, but again, I didn't really feel like I knew these characters, so ultimately I didn't really care for them. And whilst the visual effects are truly amazing, there were occasions where it does look like a video game, but again, you can just say, oh, it's because it's a video game. So it does get away with a lot, but the films that you really remember, particularly Spielberg's films, is the ones where you do care about the characters. And what I'm trying to say is that this film does feel a little bit shallow. It does feel a little bit like style over substance, but this style is so well put together and so fantastic, and you do ride this wave of nostalgia. I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't entertained by it all. So that's my thoughts on Ready Player One, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I would definitely recommend you see this film on the biggest screen possible. I saw it on IMAX 3D and it did feel like I was transported. It is exhilarating and a lot of fun, if not a bit emotionally shallow. There were a couple of moments where you do call BS, where this global technology, this global virtual world, and then characters pop up really conveniently in the real world. But I can't really say too much about that, because after I watched this film, I walked out of the cinema, I thought I left my wallet in there, so I went back in to get it, and on my way back in, I bumped into a YouTuber who I hugely admire and respect, so I went over and said hello, and it turns out he lives round the corner from me. If you haven't seen his channel before, he's called Indie Tricks, his name's Will, go and check him out, fantastic YouTuber. The best thing is we might be doing a collab someday out of all of this, so that's a huge thumbs up. So thanks very much for watching my review of Ready Player One, I really do appreciate it. If you can, give this video a like, and don't forget to share the Lave. In my pants. Subscribe.